I'm out of YouTuber phrases already.
Hey guys, what's going on? We're the Cinefanatics.
Yep. My name's Chris Adams.
I'm Robert Adams. We're brothers who both like movies. It's in our DNA.
Stop it. We're both brothers that just like movies. Welcome to the podcast. This is the Cinefanatics podcast because we're the Cinefanatics and this is our podcast.
You sound like a little happier about that. It's the Cinefanatics podcast.
It's the Cinefanatics podcast. I feel like you could actually just put the sound
I could have just put a
post.
sound effect in there, you know. That's completely possible to do.
Hey guys,
It's within the realm of my editing
I'm
skills.
moving on. Did you know that we are in the year of 2023? Good Lord.
Well, the year of someone's Lord, at least.
Yes. Holy. We made it to the world, the planet
I
itself.
still feel like we're in 2020.
Yeah, I haven't moved beyond the pandemic yet.
No one has.
It's crazy. But yeah, no, we're in the year 2023, which is it's a brand new year. Well, technically we're in the end of January, so it's been a brand new year for a month. So
Yeah, we're 1/12 of the way into this brand new year already.
That being said, it's no longer 2022, so we're not talking about movies from 2022 anymore. Granted, I still want to see Babylon.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about movies that are going to be coming out in 2023, and that is this episode of the podcast. The movies we're anticipating for 2023, and maybe a few that we aren't.
We could kind of call this like a companion piece to the marquee that we recently did, where we tier ranked our most anticipated movies. It's just like with that, because we were tier ranking like 40 some odd movies, we had to quickly blow through some of those. Like, yep, we're anticipating this movie. Nope, we don't anticipate this movie. Moving on.
Yeah, and there's a few movies on here we want to dive a little bit more into and just talk about why we're excited about them and why you probably should be excited about them too, because you need to trust our opinions and have the same opinion as us.
Or maybe some movies why we're not excited about them.
And why you should trust our opinion and have the same opinion as us.
But you are still free to have your own opinion. You subscribe to my part of this channel, not necessarily his.
That's not how YouTube or podcasts work.
You can just hit subscribe on half of the subscribe button and I'll know.
If you're watching the video, you might be wondering, why do I have a laptop in my lap? Because I like the warmth it brings.
Because it's not a head top or a foot top, it's a laptop. You put it in your lap.
I got nothing for that.
I barely had anything for that.
It's because I have to... There's a lot of movies that we have on this list, and I have to keep track of all of them, and they're right here in front of my face. So, we can dive in. Do we want to spoil all the fun and just go straight to, hey, let's talk about the movies we're most excited for? Or do we just want to go willy-nilly, pick one on the list? And
Just pick one and talk about it. What movie do you feel like talking about?
I'm currently covering my eyes, and my finger is stopping at the timer for the podcast. Hey, did you know there's another Fast and Furious movie coming out this year?
Oh, good Lord. This is where we're going to start this?
Why not?
So, I mentioned this on the marquee. I kind of wanted to... I did want to dive into this a little bit more. So, good choice there, right off the bat.
Boom.
That... The Fast and Furious franchise is a good franchise. For it being like an original idea, I'm really happy it is still going on this strong. We've already had one spin-off, which wasn't bad.
It was okay.
It was okay.
Give or take, it doesn't follow the rules of time and days correctly, but whatever.
Yeah. The thing I like about it is it really did start off primarily as a franchise about street racing, and now it's moved on to some kind of like James Bond team.
It was a hybrid of street racing and heists.
Yeah, like crime, street racing.
They always had that like out in the open highway stunt scene at the end of the movie that wasn't about street racing, but
but it still involved driving cars really fast for the most part.
Yeah.
And most all of them have that in some form or another.
Mama, I'm going fast.
Yeah. Sometimes that's on back city streets. Sometimes it's on the world's longest runway in an airport.
Shaking big. That's right.
Yeah.
That happened. Or something like that. I don't know.
But with F9, I was saying that I feel like it really reached a point where it's really just running out of gas, steam, whatever. In that like, I think all of a sudden saying that Dom and Mia have a surprise brother that we didn't know about. Like,
Nobody talked about
8
movies.
I feel like that's kind of like you're just trying to find something to keep the story going. And so that on top of, again, the stupid, insane stunts that they do in those movies.
Yeah.
They're getting even dumber. Tyrese's character is completely calling out what we're all thinking, like, how are y'all not dead?
How are we not dead yet?
Like, that's funny, but I'm like,
It's jumping the shark.
yeah, that whole movie jumps the shark a lot.
You know what? I'll forgive them if they do that stunt in either the 10 or 11.
Jumping a shark?
If they literally just jump a shark.
If they get Henry Winkler in to do that
Especially
real
if Henry
quick,
Winkler's in there and then they jump a shark. Absolutely. Killer.
there's a reference. But yeah, we saw F9 in the theater, and I was like, it's a good movie, but like I'm kind of burnt out on this now.
That's the thing. The franchise should have probably ended on the 9th one.
Yeah, and I tried watching it again since it's been available like on streaming and stuff. I've tried watching it, and I couldn't make it through. I'm not interested in this.
Right.
I did rewatch it again like a couple of weeks ago or so, and I managed to sit through the whole thing. It's a much better movie. I feel like it's a lot more decent than I give it credit for, but at the same time, I still feel like it's so difficult to get through. Like, I don't care about these characters and their stories anymore.
Right.
Like,
I mean, I do. I want to see what they do with the characters still. So, like, you guys got me for 10 and 11, but don't you dare announce a 12. Don't you dare announce a 12, because I'll probably still go see it, but I'm not going to be happy about it. No, actually, no, there is an extent to where your time with the movie is just up. Namely, Transformers 5. I never saw that in the theaters.
yeah, I didn't either.
I didn't care to. I don't feel like I missed anything.
I thought I saw Age of Extinction at a dollar theater, and I was like, I pay too much.
That was the final nail in the coffin on that one.
Yeah. Did see Bumblebee, and we saw Bumblebee in theaters, and I was super surprised by how good Bumblebee was.
Bumblebee was good. That whole opening sequence carried the movie itself.
Yeah, everything on Cybertron. And neither one of us are huge Transformers fans.
Yeah, so Fast 10, I mean, I'm already looking forward to it. I think the franchise is done. I think it needed to be done. And so 10 and 11, send it off well. Hopefully they write good movies out of them, because they could still make really good movies out of the two of them. I'm
going to guess that they're going to end Fast 10. It's going to end on a downer. They're definitely going to go the route of Empire Strikes Back or Avengers Infinity War. It's going to end on a downer. And everyone's going to be super psyched that how is this going to recover
maybe
in Fast 11 or Furious 11, Fast and Furious 11.
Yep. Exactly.
Whatever they decide to call it.
Fest and the I in Furious is going to be 1-1. It's going to be Fast and Furious. Two ones in the place of an I. It's going to be dumb. Anyway, looking forward to that movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of Transformers,
we want to talk about.
Why don't we just move to Transformers? Rise of the Beasts.
It is supposed to be.
Can we stop putting Rise in the title?
Yeah, everything's rising.
Can we stop putting Rise or Darkness in titles?
Resurrection, any form of resurrection, insurrection, like all of those.
Dark Knight Rises is probably the worst offender of this because it has both Dark and Rise in it. Despite the fact that it is actually still a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
No, Rise of the Beasts. Anthony Ramos gets me excited. The fact that this is coming after Bumblebee gets me excited.
Is this supposed to be like a full-on, like, direct, like, sequel to Bumblebee?
I honestly have no clue.
Or is, like, Bumblebee supposed to be, like, its own thing, man?
This might be one of those situations where... my own thing, man. This might be one of those situations where we don't realize until we see the movie what the movie is actually supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe at least another trailer. But I don't know. Optimus looks cool in it. They actually made him look like more of the like OG Optimus look, not so much like the prior Transformers movies.
Oh, like they made him look like the Generation 1 Optimus Prime.
Yeah, so that gives me a little bit of hope.
I do like the look of Optimus Primal, but again, since I wasn't like primarily a Transformers fan, and the Transformers Beast Wars cartoon came out like in 97 or so, like the later half of the 90s. At that point, I was in high school. I was no longer like watching cartoons as soon as I come home from work. I wasn't watching Saturday morning cartoons if they even existed. So I was definitely not interested.
Saturday morning cartoons existed when you were a high schooler.
Oh,
I
okay.
watched them.
Yeah.
Because you're old.
Yeah. I mean, I may have watched like reruns of like Spider-Man, X-Men, and Batman the Animated Series, and that was probably roughly about it.
Yeah.
If even those. But yeah, so I never got into the Beast Wars. I don't know anything about. I just know that the leader was Optimus Primal. I was like, huh, that's punny. But yeah, I don't know anything about him. I don't care. But if this is supposed to be a follow-up to Bumblebee, even though it's not directed by Travis Knight, which I feel like is a major letdown.
Stephen Cable Jr.
Okay, yeah.
I believe did the second Creed.
Creed 2, yeah. Which he did good on that. That was a decent movie. I mean, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt that potentially it is going to be the same as like Bumblebee. Mm-hmm. We've got a good director in here. My hope's going to be kind of high on that.
We know that.
Where did we have that on there?
Oh, Transformers all the way at D.
Oh, we got it at D. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so my hope's high, but not that high.
Yeah, it's high. I mean, the thing is that hopefully, you got at this point, you got Michael Bay pretty much staying as far away as possible. His production company, I'm sure, is still handling it, but I don't know how much hands-on he is with everything that his production company does. So
I've noticed, like with Michael Bay, I like his stuff more if he's not in direct control of it.
Correct.
And primarily if it is a movie that's based off of a pre-existing IP. Yeah. I don't want him really touching or messing with, like he did with Ninja Turtles, which they're kind of okay.
Adds
but
too much nonsense to it.
Yeah, and I think he's better off with his own stuff.
Bad Boys.
Yeah, Bad Boys. Armageddon, as hokey as Armageddon was back in the 90s, it was still an entertaining movie. It broke records and people loved it. Great soundtrack.
I like The Island.
The Island was good, yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Speaking of Creed, let's just move on to that.
I like how we're talking about these.
We got a flow here.
Yeah, this is working.
We're rocking the flow. No, Creed 3. Creed 3 looks great.
It does, and it's being directed by Michael B. Jordan also.
Yeah. And you also, you know what else I like about this is it feels, even though you're gonna find out about this. This will be rectified by the time we get to Creed 3. While I still haven't seen Rocky 5, the only one of the franchise I haven't seen yet.
You're not missing much.
This has the vibes of what I believe Rocky 5 was, which is more of a street brawl. Even though I don't think this is going to end in a street brawl.
No,
but it has the personal. It has the personal touch between the main character and
the villain,
and the quote unquote antagonist villain.
So yeah, no real spoilers for Rocky 5. You pretty much have an idea of how it goes down, anyways. It's Rocky befriends Tommy and trains Tommy, and then Tommy gets a little cocky. He's got this like the devil on his shoulders. This fight promoter is telling him to fight, and he wants to go fight. Rocky's like no, and then they have a disagreement. Fight Rocky. Yeah, they have a disagreement, and it just ends up in a street fight, and that's it. Like that is kind of where this seems to be going. That we have Creed, Adonis, meeting up with his friend. I guess Damien. Was his name Damien? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Something like that. He's meeting up with Damien. They're friends. They're catching up. And then there's going to be something that happens in this where they're on different ideals.
They're going to have a disagreement.
Yeah, they're on different ideals, disagree about something, and it's going to end in a fight. This one does look like it is going to end in a fight in a ring. So what I like about this, one of the things I have highly anticipated about this, and it is kind of a negative also, there's no Rocky in this. Sylvester Stallone is not a part of this.
It could be a plus or a minus depending on how you want to look at it.
Yeah, which the thing I like about that, though, is they're allowing Michael B. Jordan, Adonis, to have his own story.
Hey, why don't you just let me chill on a beach with a Mai Tai? Hey.
Yeah. Wow. But he's allowed to be his own character. He doesn't have to be under, say, Rocky's shadow. So I like that. I think that's going to be pretty good. I'm just curious as to what exactly they're doing with Rocky.
Because you're left to thinking they're going to take him out off screen, aren't they? Probably. Or are we just going to go with nope, Rocky moved somewhere else. He moved upstate for some reason.
Yeah.
And he's just retired. He left the restaurant to somebody else. I can't remember if he still owned the restaurant, but...
He did at the end of, at least as of Creed 2.
Yeah. So he's leaving the restaurant to somebody else. He's moved on. He's retired. He's just basking in his past glories and all that. And
yeah,
that's all we need to know. I wouldn't actually doubt it if they did that. If they didn't actually do a Rocky death, he just retired and moved somewhere else and is just chilling.
Yeah, because that's the question. Since the first Creed movie came out, everyone's been anticipating when are they killing off Rocky.
I don't think they need to.
They'll kill off Rocky to seemingly pass the torch. And yeah, at this point...
Now that I'm saying this out loud, I don't think they need to.
We've already had, I think it was it the first Rocky movie where he had the scare where he was in the hospital?
Something like that.
Yeah, I can't.
They've done it. They've done it in this portion of the franchise.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's in the hospital. Here's where he's gonna."
I feel
die.
like it's redundant and doubling down if they turn around and be like, "Oh yeah, it caught back up with him, and now he's gone."
I kind of like the idea because Creed 2, spoilers, ends with him reuniting with his son after they've had a disagreement that didn't end in a street fight for some weird reason. I guess because his son's Milo Ventimiglia.
Why do you set yourself up to say names that you know that you can't?
I'm not the person who named them.
Why do you set yourself up to say names that you know you're not going to be able to say?
I'm not the person who named that in particular individual.
Milo Ventimiglia.
Sure, you said it. He's reconnecting with him, and I kind of like that because it kind of leaves a seemingly happy end for Rocky.
Yeah,
he reunites with his family. He gets to know his grandson. Everything's a-okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, it looks good because one of the big factors of this is going to be the Jonathan Majors of it all. And that dude's having a stellar career so far.
I see what you're doing.
He's had a stellar career so far. I still want to see Devotion. Apparently that's on Paramount Plus right now. So
nice, yeah.
We got to check that out soon. He's been doing a lot of great work. He did some great work in Loki, which is on Disney Plus. We're just promoting all the streaming services today. Yeah. Just sign up for all of them. Ditch your cable and sign up for all streaming services, y'all.
No, I know I did.
Hey-o. And speaking of Jonathan Majors from Loki and having a stellar year, Quantum Mania looks fantastic.
That was so forced.
I took 2 minutes to get there. I swear I'm not actually doing this on purpose. Well, that one
did.
That one a little bit was, but the string is just happening. How do we connect Quantum Mania to Barbie?
I'm actually surprised we didn't go back and talking about the people forcing the word rise in a title. Speaking of movies that have the title rise in the title, let's talk about Evil Dead.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about that.
I know you
We probably will, though, because...
I can do something on horror real quick.
You can do a splash. Mm-hmm. But, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This is going to be our first Marvel movie out of the gate for 2023. We're getting it here in a few weeks at this point.
Yes.
And...
I've never been so hyped to buy a Hot Toys figure immediately.
MODOK.
I mean, we've got this Marvel Legends MODOK.
Do you think they'll make a hot toy of MODOK?
I don't know. Will it look like Corey Stoll?
If Corey Stoll's playing him.
They've got to get Corey Stoll's likeness rights on that, I guess. I don't know. I've got this Marvel Legends. Those of y'all that are listening, you can't see it. Video, we have this MODOK figure that's on our set, and I love that. Is probably my favorite MODOK toy rendition I've ever seen.
Is that a Marvel Legend?
It is. Yeah, it's a Hasbro Marvel Legend. I really like that one. Yeah. I do like the character of MODOK, so I am super eager to see him on screen.
I've been interested in seeing if they would ever adapt MODOK. Because MODOK is one of those characters, I think, and we're just going way too long on MODOK here, but just bear with me. MODOK is one of those characters for the MCU that's look, they push it with Groot and Rocket. I get it. We got Guardians of the Galaxy. We get some wild stuff. I don't know if they'll ever do MODOK. But then it's gotten so far, we're how many movies in the MCU? Almost 30, if not right at 30. We're going into phase 5.
Yeah.
This is the start of phase 5 is what I'm saying. And at this point, if they can't pull off MODOK, then I would be incredibly shocked.
And the thing, I kind of get an idea why is because now to be able to push the boundaries, especially with what villains they could be bringing in, you're going to need to really push the boundary of like what would make sense in this world. Especially like if you're going into X-Men, you have the potential of bringing in like Apocalypse, which I don't think was quite done right in the X-Men Apocalypse movie. But bringing in Apocalypse or Mojo, which I don't know if they'll ever do Mojo, but I mean, you're going to get into these silly characters, and you're going to need to be able to pull them off in a realistic way. Or you just embrace their comic book heritage, and the audience will follow you.
You do what to the characters in a realistic way?
You embrace them.
Well, the hammer pulled you off.
Yeah.
Off the ground. Anyway. Yeah, there's some crazy characters, one of which is Kang. Jonathan Majors, when he was casted in the role, I was like, I don't know who this is. I don't know who Jonathan Majors is. At that point, I think he was only on that...
Harder They Fall.
No, he wasn't even in Harder They Fall yet.
At that time?
That was that
Oh,
show.
that was the year that Loki came out.
That was the show that's like based off of like
Lovecraft.
Yeah,
Lovecraft Country.
Yeah. I think that's like all that I knew he was in at that time when they announced it. I was like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see how he does. But since then, like we obviously got Loki, and he was stellar in that as He Who Remains.
Yeah.
And then of course
basically Immortus. But I don't know. They're not
the
ready
Kang version.
Yeah, they're not ready to dive into all that yet. I feel like that will be explained because we've got to sustain Kang being a major villain for a couple of phases now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that one's gonna be a big one. I'm excited for that one. That's huge. No real move off that. Here, you should talk about Evil Dead really briefly. Because I got nothing to add to it.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of just want to like look over like what's all the horror movies that we have on here. We got Saw 10 coming out, which I explained that on the marquee. In that
it's a big old hard pass at this point.
I'm just so like the key Saw franchise I liked. Jigsaw was terrible. Spiral was all right, but I don't see a need to fully return back to the main Saw franchise. So I'm not super eager for that. I'm still gonna go see it because it's what I do. But I mean, I'm not super
self-punishment's what he does.
Yeah, pretty much. What else do we have on here that's horror?
Evil Dead Rise, Scream 6.
Scream 6, kind of the same thing. Like Scream 5 was okay. But it's kind of weird trying to shove us back into this world. So I do like the idea that Scream 6 is taking place outside of Woodsboro. I've said that multiple times now.
You're basically feeling burnt out on most of these franchises.
Most of these franchises, they're really starting to push it on.
Except Evil Dead.
And the reason why, thank you for helping ease that transition there.
Yep.
The reason why I am so super pumped for Evil Dead is that entire franchise, not including the TV show, but the entire movie franchise, there's not a single bad movie. The first 3, Evil Dead 1, 2, Army of Darkness, all phenomenal. Various levels of like what they're about. The first movie is straight up horror. The second movie's horror comedy. The third's more comedy than it really is horror. Mm-hmm. The remake is right back into pure horror, and it did it very well. I really wish we got a sequel to that one. This looks even better. But this is, other than the third movie, this is the first time we're really getting away from the cabin in the woods type of scenario. And we're in an LA apartment with a family. There's little kids involved, which is going to make this all kinds of messed up depending on what happens to them. Yeah, I'm super psyched for this. The trailer looks really good, or all the trailers. Apparently there's multiples of them, but yeah, I'm still super psyched for this. And the reason why I feel like I'm not that burnt out is because we haven't gotten a sequel every couple of years. The last time we had the Evil Dead movies was back in 2013. So it's been 10 years. I'm ready to go back to the world of the Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon. So yeah, that's why I'm eager for it.
You can't say Ventimiglia, but you can say Necronomicon.
It's because I've been an Evil Dead fan,
and you haven't been a Mila Ventimiglia fan.
He was okay in Heroes.
Wow.
It was like the first time I actually saw. I remember seeing him.
And what about This Is Us? No, I'm kidding.
Never watched that.
Couple movies. Like I want to breeze through some of these, not to the same extent we did on the marquee, but there's some that we definitely want to make sure that we hit and talk about. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I want to talk about that one real quick. You still haven't seen Crystal Skull. That's going to be fixed this year. You'll end up watching that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I will watch that before I watch Dial of Destiny.
I'm so sorry.
This is going to be the first Indiana Jones movie I see in the theater. And there goes all of our subscribers. Yeah, I've never been like a huge Indiana Jones fan.
Going to be the first one I see in a theater too. I didn't see Crystal Skull in the theater.
Oh, you didn't?
I'm pretty sure I did. I'm pretty sure I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember seeing it in the theater. I remember seeing it at home viewing, or maybe I did. I don't know, because like for some reason I saw Crystal Skull before I saw the third one,
Last Crusade.
So, but yeah, no, this one looks interesting. I mean, we've got Harrison Ford. He's old now, and this one's going to be as modern as we're probably ever going to see the Indiana Jones franchise get.
Yeah. Before it's like passed off to someone else.
Yeah, and then somehow brought into modern day, which I think part of the charm of Indiana Jones is it's not modern day.
Yeah, so like Indiana Jones nowadays, where he has access to like the internet and cell phones, yeah, smartphones and GPS and stuff. I feel like that loses some of the fun. Like a lot of the fun is like, how is Indiana Jones finding out and learning this stuff and getting from place to place?
I think that belongs in a museum. Let me do a Twitter poll real quick and find out what people think.
Yeah.
Elon says yes, it definitely belongs in a museum.
You could put like, what is that, the Apple tag or whatever in the box with the Ark of the Covenant, so someone can still trace where exactly in that warehouse that the Ark of the Covenant is. It's not fun.
Quick note on this: don't open it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, kind of like how I'm not a big fan of like medieval fantasy type movies.
You're just not big on like historical type stuff like that.
Well, it's weird because some of them I am, some of them I'm not, and I guess it's just a matter of what it's about. Like the archaeology type movies, I haven't been major fans of either. Like Tomb Raider, Uncharted wasn't bad, but I've never played the video game, so I don't have like the video game to compare it to.
Uncharted was better than it probably should have been.
Yeah,
but yeah. I mean, here's the thing: Crystal Skull did not kill my excitement for this. I don't think Crystal Skull's the best. It's definitely not the best in the franchise. But I will say James
definitely the worst in the franchise.
Definitely the worst in the franchise. James Mangold coming in here though and stepping in as director, I think is going to be a huge thing. Just watching the trailer and hearing the theme, one of the greatest movie themes of all time, regardless of whether you're an Indiana Jones franchise fan or not. That is one of those themes where when you hear it, you're like, that's a movie theme.
Even before the trumpets come in, like you just hear the beginning of the fanfare.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, here it goes.
Yeah. Right. It's kind of like I will compare that to Danny Elfman's Batman theme. It starts off very, very quiet. Yeah, and then like especially if you're driving in a car and it kicks in, you want to hit that gas pedal and you feel like you're driving the Batmobile.
I don't recommend doing that.
Don't do that. Yes.
Yeah, be safe
unless you're in the Batmobile. And then you're Batman.
Real quickly, let's cover these other Marvel movies that we're getting. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and The Marvels.
Guardians 3 looks really good.
Yeah.
My main thing that I'm anxious for that is Will Poulter as Adam Warlock, especially if you look back at Will Poulter as Kenny in We're the Millers. He's a scrawny, whiny, nerdy kid.
You guys got paid?
Yeah, and now he's like this muscular, like blonde.
Is Will Poulter good looking?
Yeah, you know who he reminds me of? Well, you're probably not going to get this reference because you haven't seen it, but he reminds me of Rocky Horror in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. that's what he's going to be. Creature of the Night.
Interesting. He reminds you of Rocky Horror in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, that's the character's name.
Frankenfurter?
No.
Oh, it's a different character. Okay.
Rocky. Yeah, no, Frankenfurter is building a man.
Yeah, okay.
He builds Rocky Horror.
You know what? That connection makes sense there now, given who Adam Warlock is.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, that too. Yeah.
Guardians 3 looks good, though. Obviously, we know this is going to be more about Rocket, and Rocket's probably my favorite character of that bunch. There's just something about Rocket that I find fascinating.
Didn't James Gunn say that like secretly like the three Guardians movies were really about Rocket and not so much about Peter Quill?
I mean, he briefly teased something like that. We don't really get to see that, come into fruition until we actually watch this movie, because I have no idea what he's talking about, because Guardians 2 was definitely about Peter Quill.
But there was a lot about Rocket in there too.
There was. It was definitely a whole, like, Rocket was a B story, though, comparatively.
Yeah, but I kind of like the emotional punch of Rocket's story more than the very generic father-son story of Peter and Ego.
Yeah, that very generic father-son story where the father gives his mother cancer. You know that generic story.
It's not the part of it that I'm talking about, but...
Guardians 3 looks great. I'm excited for it. I can't wait for another trailer for that, which we should probably get another trailer for that before Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And then after that, after Ant-Man already comes out, is when we'll get our first trailer probably for the Marvels, which I'm excited for because I want to see our three main Marvel characters kind of coming together here.
Didn't we say that there's a possible anticipation of a trailer being or playing during the Super Bowl for either Guardians or the Marvels?
When is the Super Bowl? Is that
beginning of February?
Oh, so
it'll be before
it's
Ant-Man.
literally coming up in like a week and a half. As of
roughly.
Filming this.
Yeah.
Possibly at least one of those, if not both of them, will get a trailer. Then maybe during the Super Bowl. I can't guarantee. Excuse me. The big game. Superb owl. The superb owl, guys.
It's the word super and a bowl. I don't know how you can copyright that.
They can. Superb owl.
Come after us. I have no money.
Please don't invite that. Anyways, yeah, the Marvels. We got Captain Marvel. We're assuming at this point she's going to be named Spectrum. And then we've got Miss Marvel.
I heard that it was actually going to be one of her other names, not
Photon.
Yes.
They're actually going with Photon?
I think so.
See, because when they introduced her in WandaVision, she
they
was
showed
seeing
that
the
shimmering spectrum of light.
Yeah, she was seeing a spectrum, so I would assume that they were going to go with that. Also because they nicknamed her mom Photon, which, I mean, she could just be like, I'm naming myself Photon after my mother.
Yeah.
Which,
and then, cool. Of course, we're also getting Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. That's the one I'm eager to see, is that now we're going to get, after watching the Miss Marvel show where she's like a huge fan of Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. Mm-hmm. Now she's like, I get to meet you and fight with you? Or apparently last we've seen she just swapped places with her. So who knows what's actually happening with that.
And I believe before this show, we're getting Secret Invasion. Before this movie, I should say, we're getting Secret Invasion. So I believe Secret Invasion leads into this movie.
Yes, because that will involve the Skrulls, which we saw Teyonah Parris's character interacting with the Skrull before being called up.
At the end of WandaVision.
Yes.
Yep. So a lot of hype. I think that movie's going to get a lot more hype once that show comes out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more hype's going to be built for that. Other Marvel movie that we should talk about, Across the Spider-Verse. Not MCU, but it is a Marvel property.
Yeah. Again, huge fan of Spider-Man 2099. So
yeah,
that's my main. I want to watch it for that.
And I said this on the marquee, Into the Spider-Verse was probably our best Spider-Man movie. You may or may not agree with that, but I believe it was our best Spider-Man movie up until No Way Home. The audience may or may not agree with that. It's a toss-up. I think it's a toss-up between those two. You can have some nostalgia goggles for Spider-Man 2, but anyways, Across the Spider-Verse, I think is one I'm incredibly looking forward to, because Into the Spider-Verse was so good.
Yeah,
freaking Oscar-nominated Spider-Man movie.
I think I'm trying to think of it, and yeah, Spider-Man 2 is still pretty high up there for me. I would have probably also put Far From Home on there. I just think was it
only for Mysterio? Most people don't typically like Far From Home, but Mysterio was. How they did him was good.
No Way Home, I feel like, was getting a little too far-fetched with the whole, like, multiverse thing. I think, like, doing a multiverse or Spider-Verse worked great for the cartoon and the comics, but that movie, I feel like, was...
Nah, I don't agree. No Way Home was self-indulgent, and I think it had every right to be.
I like what they did with it. I think it was fun, but... Yeah, I'm suspending a little bit of disbelief just to enjoy the movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, Across the Spider-Verse, that's a big one on the list. That's a big looking forward to. In fact, I really want to rewatch Into the Spider-Verse here pretty soon.
So, Mario?
You can talk about Mario real quick. That's one of those when we first saw that they were making a Mario movie.
Here we go again.
They announced the cast. Yeah, well, first of all, there's that. There's the, we tried this before. Let's do it again. Oh, it's going to be animated? Well, that helps a little bit.
There's still a part of me that wants a good, honest, faithful live-action Mario movie.
Yeah, but you look at the animation, you're like, how do you do a faithful Mario in live action?
So, and my drawback, my takeaway on this, I don't know, I've seen anyone else kind of say this. You may have seen this, but it's a computer animated movie. It's basically the video game without me controlling it.
For the most part, yeah.
We've seen that.
It's got a little bit more that it can do. It's got a little bit more freedom than the confines of a video game, but
sure. But I mean, if you've ever gone over to your friend's house when you were a kid and you're watching them play Mario while you're sitting there waiting for your turn, that's basically what you're doing, is you're watching a computer animated Mario that you have no control over. Yeah, I agree. I want to see more of a story.
Hurry up, Illumination! I want my turn.
Banana.
Dang it, Chris Pratt.
But yeah, I want to see a live action Mario, and I'm hoping eventually we get that again. Although the thing is if this movie does well, we're probably not going to get a live action Mario for quite a long time.
And yeah, that's my prediction. Side note to that: if this movie does well, I don't think we get another live action Nintendo property for quite a while. Pokemon aside, I think Pokemon can still
do it because
Pokemon can still operate because the
Detective
Pokemon,
Pikachu was so good.
Yeah, the Pokemon company itself is second party to Nintendo. There's a whole thing.
Yeah,
anything that's first party Nintendo really doesn't want touched that much.
Like Sonic.
Sonic is Sega.
I know, but I mean,
Sonic is not first party Nintendo. I'm going to explain these first party, second party, third party to you here. Sonic is third party to Nintendo. Pokemon is second party. And first party is Mario.
Got it.
Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Nintendo owns those.
Metroid is one I want a live
Pokemon
action.
has exclusive console is Nintendo, but it is not owned and created by Nintendo.
I want a live action Metroid and Zelda.
And then Sonic you can find everywhere. Yeah, those two exactly would be good.
But yeah, if this turns out pretty well,
those movies will be animated if they get made.
Very likely Nintendo will push for animated.
That being said, Super Mario Brothers does actually look good.
Yeah.
Despite everyone's trepidation based on the cast, Chris Pratt, based on the cast and how Mario sounds, Chris Pratt, it does actually look good.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not Mario sounds good is open to interpretation and how everybody feels. But
I want to cover.
I don't care what you want to cover. I'm moving on.
Well, so I'll give you a suggestion if you choose to jump into it right now, or if you want to just keep it in mind as we're going through this. I do kind of want to cover these ones that I pretty much we don't have really even a logo for officially, like Air, Asteroid City, The Machine.
Look at that. He's pointing out exactly what I wanted to move to next.
Oh, well, that works. Hey, it's like we're brothers or something.
We have 22 minutes.
So let's move on.
Yeah, so Air, Asteroid City. What else is on here that we didn't have a logo for?
Technically,
we got those two.
So, Air, I like this because it's Matt Damon and Ben Affleck about the history of Nike making the deal with Michael.
Yeah.
I want to say Michael B. Jordan. Michael Jordan over the Nike Air shoes.
That's a different fella.
Yeah, I know. That sounds like... when I first heard about this, you told me about this a couple of nights before the marquee, and I was like, that sounds fantastic. I want to see this. And I think it was, I don't know what part of that actually made me really anxious for it. I think it was the combination of the story of the Nike Air shoes with Michael Jordan done by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Because I'm thinking Good Will Hunting again type of attack to the story.
Ben Affleck's directing it. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are both producing it with their company. I think they're both
starring
in it.
Yeah.
So they're both going to be in it. Viola Davis, I believe, is playing
Michael Jordan's mom.
Mm-hmm. We don't know who's playing Michael Jordan yet. I haven't seen that. I don't know if it's actually been officially announced anywhere, but we haven't seen it. I said this on the marquee. I'm getting Ford v Ferrari vibes off of this kind of a movie. In which case, it's based on a true story. It's essentially a biopic-ish, even though it's not directly it's a biopic about an event necessarily more so than a specific person.
Yeah.
Even though it is more so about Michael Jordan in this case. Just the entire thing just sounds like it's the recipe for a good movie.
Yeah.
Definitely a dad movie for those of you who want to qualify such a thing.
Asteroid City.
Asteroid City, we don't know a whole lot plot-wise, if anything at all plot-wise. It's Wes Anderson. And if you know Wes Anderson, you know what to expect. It's going to be very quirky and stylistic. And it's going to have a huge cast.
Yeah, it's basically his movies I would describe as like we're watching a blade of grass grow, and as we're watching this blade of grass growing, we hear all of this blade of grass's family all bickering about stuff that may or may not actually matter in the lifespan of this blade of grass growing. That's how I would describe a Wes Anderson movie. It's all quirky. It's really weird. There's usually always a massively huge and talented cast, but the story, the filming, everything is just very abstract. And it's hard, like...
It's abstract, but it's not.
I've had a hard time getting into his movies. I liked Bottle Rocket was good. I liked Rushmore.
Mm-hmm.
That's roughly about it.
He's very attention to detail oriented. The thing about this one, though, that the reason why it's so high up on our list of what we're looking forward to is Tom Hanks is in a Wes Anderson movie,
and Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie's there too. Yeah. If that doesn't get you excited, that doesn't just get your jellies going, I don't know what will. Also, if you're just not a Wes Anderson fan, then I understand that. I mean, it makes complete sense. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I hope we get a trailer for that here pretty soon. A couple things on here. Let's talk about. We talked about Marvel. Let's breeze through some DC real quick. I'm not looking forward to any of them.
Yeah,
in particular.
Now that we're still, as of right now, as of this recording, we're still waiting for James Gunn to make an announcement. For the love of God,
it's gonna happen at some point
next year.
Yeah.
So the thing with this is we know that he's wanting to essentially kind of revamp the DC movies. From the way it sounds so far, for the most part, it sounds like everything that was DCEU, which is the movies that are still coming out, Shazam, Aquaman, and The Flash, they're all still primarily DCEU. They're all, for the most part, none of their stories actually matter.
Yeah.
Not like, say, like an MCU movie, like we had Infinity War. That story mattered to move on to Endgame. Whatever's being set up in these movies, they don't matter for the next movies coming out. So therefore, there's no stakes. It doesn't. Why do I care?
Yeah,
it's just seeing this up on the screen again. Like
it's the fact that, as far as we know, the franchise itself is coming to an end and going to be rebooted, and it just kind of kills kind of all excitement for it. The only reason I'm looking forward to these is just getting to see the heroes themselves on the screen again.
Yeah.
That's it. That's literally the only thing that's selling these movies at this point is you just get to see the colorful superheroes do their thing.
I mean, to run through them real quick, I'm not a huge fan of the Aquaman character, although I think Jason Momoa did a fantastic job, and I'm really happy to... Like, I do like the first Aquaman movie. I'm not a big fan of the character, so I really don't care. Was it Flash? I really don't care about this one because even though it sounds like the Flash movie is going to be the catalyst for erasing the DCEU and moving on to the new DCU,
yeah,
everything evolving Ezra Miller, I don't really care anymore. I don't get them out of the movies, out of the public eye for right now.
Yeah, whatever have you. Yeah.
What was the other one that's on there?
Shazam.
Oh, Shazam. Yeah. The trailer, we just did the trailer reaction a couple of days ago.
If you've seen our trailer reaction, the opinion is still the same from the other day.
It's just, looks like a movie.
Looks like a movie.
And then there's Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle's probably the one that's kind of like iffy on here because it sounds like it has the potential to be shifted into the DCU.
Imagine if that is actually what carries into the new DC universe, where we're now essentially picturing the entire breadth of what DC is through the eyes of a brand new superhero.
I mean,
that I think actually, as an idea, I think actually could work.
It could.
Now that I say that out loud.
We're still talking about a character that is probably like a C or D list character in DC.
But what was Iron Man before Iron Man came out?
Hold on, I'm getting a point here. C or D list character that their powers are based on putting on a suit of armor.
Yeah.
It's basically Iron Man. Now, granted, I think Blue Beetle's his armor is more mystical.
We've covered this before, though. DC. Copy Marvel. Exactly.
Yeah, do it. There's nothing... I am not going to blame DC for copying Marvel at all whatsoever.
If they could have, I actually would have probably started with Batman, but, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a conversation that we've had before and we'll have again another time. DC, not really looking forward to the movies this year that much. Couple things I want to breeze through real quick. There's two specific movies on this list I want to end the discussion on.
Mm-hmm.
that are opening the same day, and that's your hint as to what they are. Real quick, we got a couple franchises that have sequels coming out. We got A Haunting in Venice, which is the sequel to Death on the Nile, the Hercule Poirot mysteries. We've got John Wick 4. No crazy title for this one,
but the poster's just badass.
Poster looks great, and it's John Wick. You know what you're gonna get. Dune 2. Here's the thing. I enjoyed Dune 1. I actually want to go back and watch it again to try to glean a little bit more from it this time.
Yeah.
So I mean, those, Mission Impossible. That's probably one of the big ones. Both Mission Impossible and John Wick, I think, are the ones that we look forward to the most out of those four that I just mentioned.
Yeah, the Mission Impossible movies, kind of the same thing with Mission Impossible with the Fast and Furious franchise. It's time to end this franchise. The big difference, though, is I don't feel like I'm completely burnt out on Mission Impossible.
Because they took their time with it, too.
Yeah, and they weren't like in a rush to try to get a movie out every single year, every other year type of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm a lot more agreeable to another Mission Impossible movie, and I know since we're setting this up as Dead Reckoning Part 1 and Part 2, that they're looking at ending their franchise as well.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing it at a proper time, unlike Fast and Furious.
It feels like they have control over the idea of ending the franchise now, whereas Fast and the Furious is, hey, we're still making money, let's make another movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's the dichotomy there. Ending it at a time where you're like, I feel like we could end it now rather than let's make another movie because we can make more money type situation.
It's like Cocaine Bear looks wild. Can't wait for that. That looks insane. Beau is Afraid, the next one from Ari Aster, that looks really curious. I don't know if that's even going to be a horror movie.
It's gonna have some stuff in it.
It's gonna have some weirdness to it, and I'm all for it.
Craven, don't care.
Craven, yeah. Again, as I said on the marquee, Sony burnt me and probably most people with Morbius. I have no interest in a movie about Craven because he doesn't need his own movie.
That's crazy. I got burnt on Venom too. I didn't even care to see Morbius.
I didn't think the Venom movies are that bad, especially because they're not really tying them into the origins with Spider-Man.
Carnage looked good. They just did him dirty.
Yeah. I don't like Carnage being taller than Venom. That was weird. He's supposed to be scrawnier than Venom, but
weird.
Okay.
There's a couple movies on this list that you need to keep in mind are from acclaimed directors. These are going to be ones that you should probably look forward to, and that is Killers of the Flower Moon, which is Martin Scorsese's next movie. It doesn't have a date right now as of this recording, but we're expecting it's going to be premiering at some festivals probably later this year, and we'll probably have a release in time for award contention this year.
Yeah, probably towards like December.
Yeah.
Very likely.
And then you got The Killer from David Fincher, which is apparently based off of a comics form of some form, but all you need to know there is it's Fincher, so
Fincher starring Michael Fassbender. It's probably going to be pretty decent.
Yep. And then there's a couple other movies, obviously. We don't have time to cover all of them. Just Google search the movies that are coming out in 2023, and you'll find some other movies that you may or may not be interested in seeing. We also just did the marquee, so if you want to check out the full list, go ahead and watch the marquee if you weren't there live. We also do these live, so you can come check them out live, but the replay is available on this YouTube channel if you want to check it out. The two big movies coming out on the same day that I feel like everybody wants to know our opinion of:
Little Mermaid and Elemental.
Exactly. No, Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oppenheimer, Chris Nolan's next movie. You know, Chris Nolan is like the director to do event films at this point.
I like that because your name is Chris. You're just like, I'm just going to refer to him as Chris as well. I don't need to call him Christopher Nolan. I'll just, like everyone else in the industry, I'll just call him Chris.
I'm trying to save time, and Christopher is a long-ass name. That's why I call myself Chris.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense then.
Yeah, he just does event movies now. His name as a director has quickly risen over the course of a decade and a half, 2 decades or so, as a director whose name sells a movie.
Yeah.
Batman Begins helped. Prestige I thought was great. Inception, Interstellar, like these movies sold his name as a director, and so if he's doing a biopic about the guy who invented the atom bomb, essentially, you're like, all right, I don't know that I cared to see a movie about the guy who invented the atom bomb before, but I do now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think having his name attached to directing it helps. And then hearing that Cillian Murphy is playing him. When I heard,
and then seeing him in the trailer.
When I heard that Cillian Murphy was playing Oppenheimer, my first thought was like,
ooh.
oh, yeah. That is like the best, one of the... Why did Cillian Murphy always gets casted in like great casts? Like, my opinion of him as Scarecrow in the Batman movies, that has to be one of the best castings ever.
Yeah. And it really was. It really was. So, yeah. Looking forward to Oppenheimer. The trailer was fantastic. I'm
he
excited
sounded like Oppenheimer.
He did, like, to the point where we saw him talk in the trailer very briefly. I'm like, that voice didn't sound like it came out of that person. Because I've heard him talk before, and he doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna be a hard watch, but it's gonna be a good watch.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a little slow in some places. It's probably going to be very heady with a lot of like war, political, scientific terms. Mm-hmm. They'll probably say quantum. Well, maybe not. But
on the complete opposite of that, coming out the same day though. Literally, like the exact opposite. Not slow, not heavy.
Man, it's going to be heavy on the eyes. It will be. There's going to be so much color saturation in your face.
Because Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling are beautiful people.
Well, no, it's just the colors.
That's true.
Barbie movie is going to just be
very pink.
Over. I like, when I do color corrections when making videos and stuff, I do tend to lean more towards, you can see it on here, I do lean towards more saturation of colors. This one's going to be probably a little too much, but it's going to work. It's going to be funny.
It's everything about this looks great. I mean, we're talking about acclaimed directors. If you know by now, Greta Gerwig knows what she's doing in the industry. She's made quite a few good movies at this point. She's got a name for herself as a director, and then the fact that she's the one taking on Barbie as a property is. Yeah. I'm just like. That honestly, like, look, I'm gonna break this down. If you want to know my pure excitement for Barbie, it's that.
Yeah,
that's it. I otherwise don't care about Barbie. I don't give a flying flip about a Barbie movie. It's the fact that it's Greta Gerwig directing it that I'm like, something about this is gonna be special.
She's done movies that are really good at putting like women, making it women forward.
Oh sure,
like Lady Bird. She did the remake of Little Women. Mm-hmm. All of them like got great acclaim. Barbie, I was like, this doesn't seem like it should be in her wheelhouse, but if you think about it for a minute, it sounds like it's completely in her wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Because after Barbie came out, Barbie really was a figure for like women's rights, women's empowerment.
It's like a role model for little girls to look up to because Barbie did everything: president, vet, teacher.
Yeah, pretty much.
Construction worker.
Oppenheimer. She's been like everything for the most part.
Nuclear physicist.
So yeah, it makes sense that Greta Gerwig would do this, but it's a movie about Barbie.
5-star chef.
That doesn't Michelin star. 5 Michelin stars.
5 Michelin star chef.
That doesn't sound like something that Greta Gerwig would do, but
Barbie's the one that called Gordon Ramsay an idiot sandwich.
Yeah, it's so great. I'm looking forward to this. And again, we've said this multiple times. Neither one of us played with Barbie dolls as a kid. We were little boys. I had G.I. Joes and
had
Ninja
Hot
Turtles.
Wheels.
Yeah. Ninja Turtles, X-Men figures.
When I went to McDonald's and I got the Happy Meal toy when it was Barbie and Hot Wheels, they always handed me a Hot Wheels. And I cared as much about cars as I did Barbie, so it was one half dozen of the other to me.
I wonder if they do that nowadays. Like, excuse me, did you just assume what Happy Meal toy I would like?
I would like the Barbie that spins around and has a fairy dancing around her head.
I wonder how that... Because I remember, like, I was in high school working at McDonald's, and we were like, is the Happy Meal for a boy or a girl?
I think they ask you which toy you would prefer now.
Yeah, instead of like, so what is your kid?
Especially if you go through the drive-thru and they just can't see anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a complete side note. The fact of the matter is Barbie's pretty much the most hyped up movie, I think, for this year. And I think...
It's weird, but yeah.
I think when the next trailer comes out, watch them release another trailer for the Super Bowl.
Oh,
Excuse me, the Superb Owl.
Yeah, I'm expecting one during the big game.
The big game.
And all these guys are going to be sitting there with their chicken wings and their beer, and they're going to be like, the hell is this crap?
And I am going to see it.
I'm going to go see this. This looks fantastic.
It looks great. Yeah. Also, Margot Robbie was like the perfect choice.
Margot Robbie's like the perfect choice for everything. Like Barbie, Harley Quinn, like Margot Robbie.
Although I did see something on Twitter recently where if James Gunn turns around and has to recast everybody in the DC, and they unfortunately have to recast Harley Quinn.
Oh, Mia Goth.
Which that's sad. That would be sad. Don't get ahead of me. Should be sad if they have to recast Margot Robbie, but yeah, Mia Goth is a great choice.
I also like I don't know if it was. Is it actually supposed to come out in 2023? The Joker sequel.
I think it's 2024.
Because that one they've also got.
As far as I know,
they're doing a version of Harley Quinn in that, played by Lady Gaga. That I feel like is a good cast. So yeah there's a lot of actresses out there that could potentially nail Harley.
That's freezing.
Well,
Anyway, guys, we appreciate you joining us for this episode of the podcast. These are our movies that we are looking forward to the most this year. Again, there's quite a few more movies on this list. There's even quite a few more movies than we covered on the Marquee, but you should definitely go check out our episode of the Marquee if you haven't seen it yet. It is the latest one on the channel. Just go click on our live videos on the YouTube tab, and you'll see the Marquee most anticipated for 2023. Give that a look-see. It's about 2 hours long, so play it in the background while you're doing other things. As far as where you can find us and follow us online, at Cinefanatics MLP on Twitter and Instagram, best place. We're doing all sorts of stuff on this channel. We've got the tagline. That's our weekly news show, essentially our live show every Wednesday. So you want to come back here and check that out, as well as a myriad of other things, including trailer reactions. And again, the Marquee we'll do once a month typically, if not more. And we'll do some tier rankings and stuff on there. So a lot of fun stuff. You should subscribe to the channel and come back and check out anything that we are doing. Hit like on this if you enjoyed it. Hit like on this if you didn't enjoy it. I don't care. Hit like.
If you're watching the video version.
Go ahead and leave a comment down below to let us know what your favorite movie that you're looking forward to this year is going to be. What's got your jellies going? What are you most excited for?
You're obsessed with the jellies.
Jellies. Pikachu said it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you're on the podcast side, give us a good rating wherever you're listening to the podcast at. We would really appreciate that. It helps out a ton. As far as where you can find us, you can find me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as twitch.tv/ChrisAdamsMLP, where I'm streaming and gaming and having a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can follow me at Robert Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Also youtube.com/@RobertAdamsMLP, which I will be doing something on there probably within the next month or so. I believe. So
all sorts of stuff. You can anticipate all sorts of greatness from us as well as from the movies this year. I hope you're looking forward to some good film this year, because it looks. That's the one thing that the takeaway from this whole list that we've got here is that we are wildly positive, it seems, about the majority of the movies coming out this year.
There's a lot of interesting movies coming out, and we're eating very well at the movie theater.
That's true. And oh no, we didn't have time to talk about the Paw Patrol movie. Oh well. Yeah, I just so happened it didn't work out. So, anyways, guys, appreciate y'all checking this one out.
Thank you for watching.
We'll see y'all on the next episode.
Goodbye. Outro phrase.
Just as clever as the intro phrase.